my friends, welcome back to another musical moment in the life of the old-time rock and roller. Today we will be focusing a few minutes. The Wadsworth Mansion, 1972. They had a sweet... The Wadsworth Mansion, 1972. They had a bubblegum hit, top 40, Sweet Mary, I'm Coming Home. And they needed a better guitar player. They were from Rhode Island. Steve Jablecki, the lead singer, was in a band called the Mojo Hands when I was in the Oxbow Incidents. And I noticed them playing at Merrill's Lounge all the time. All these bars where you had to be 21 to get into. Well, I was living in P-Town, Provincetown, Massachusetts, playing in my trio, Choker, and got a call from Steve Jablecki. And he said, how would you like to join the band? We've got management, we've got a record deal, we've got tours, we've got everything that you could possibly want. And I said, well, why don't you come down to my place here in P-Town? We'll spend an afternoon together and we'll do some writing and we'll see if we click. Steve said, sure. So he drove the band's Ford Econoline van down to the apartment I lived at on 3 Carver Street with Jane Mead. He came in, we broke out the acoustics, and we wrote a song called Fire in the Morning. And I said, okay, you got a good voice, we can write together, this is just what I'm looking for. What's the next step? And he said, well, we're recording 4 songs at the Ed Sullivan Studio in New York City, and we want you to be on the session. So I said, sure. And I drove up to Providence to the Wadsworth Mansion about a week later, and we rehearsed for a week, and their producers, Jimmy Calvert and Norman Marzano, had them a deal on Buddha Records, Sussex, a subsidiary, and we went to Studio Instrument Rentals to rehearse the songs just before the session. While we were rehearsing and working out the arrangements, we heard a band coming from the next floor. We took a break and we're out in the hallway and I'm listening and I said, man, that is some incredible blues. I'm going up there. And it was Edgar Winter and Jerry LaCroix rehearsing the Road Work album with Rick Derringer for their next tour. I thought, man, this is the group I want to be in, but I'm in the group downstairs, so I went back to rehearsal. And the Mansion had done a 35-state tour, opening for the likes of Alice Cooper and Edgar Winter. So I thought, well, this is a good chance to get in on some big-time action. The next day, we went to the studio and we recorded 4 songs. The next day, we went to the studio and we recorded Don't Ask Me, Why Does It Hurt So Bad, Hold On, and another song I forget the name of. But the session went really well. The song sounded really good. And very soon thereafter, we were booked on a tour. And it was a lot of fun. Well, their drummer, Mike Jablecki, who was Steve's younger brother, decided he wanted to go back to college. And that was my opportunity to get my friend Charlie Flannery, the drummer, in the band. There was a lot of anticipation around the Mansion that day of Charlie's audition. All of the roadies and the lookers and the hanger-ons were all there to check it out. Well, Charlie played great, and we hired him right away. We did a couple of very interesting tours. We played up in the Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Pennsylvania area a lot at a place called the Colonel's Garter. We met some very nice and cool people there. Hurricane Agnes in '72 was barreling up the coast, kind of headed for Rhode Island, and we thought, we're just a rock band on tour. We're headed off on the road. And we played at the Colonel's Garter that night in Wilkes-Barre, went back to the hotel, and fell asleep. We woke up early the next morning to all these National Guard trucks pulling into our hotel complex. They were using it as a staging area. We said, what the heck's going on? And they said, the hurricane came through here and the Susquehanna River is overflowing and the town on the other side of the river is completely underwater. And we said, holy smokes, that's where our equipment is. We were there to play another night. So we hopped a ride on the back of a National Guard truck and we went downtown. And we climbed up on one of the buildings and we could see the whole other side of the river was underwater. And all of downtown was being flooded and quickly. So we had to get out of there and we hopped a ride on one of the GI trucks and went back to the hotel, packed up our stuff and drove back to the mansion. Steve Jablecki and Mike Messier stayed behind to see what they could salvage. It wasn't much. All my equipment was ruined. I was pretty bummed out. I went back to P-Town, had no money, and after a couple of days I took a job as a dishwasher to try and build up some capital to buy a new amp and a new Echoplex. Well, after maybe a couple of weeks, Steve called. He said, we got another tour down south. And we start at the Alexandria Coliseum. So this was great. I said, back on the road. They fronted me some money. I got new equipment. And off we went. When we landed at the airport in New Orleans, it was pretty funny. Well, it wasn't really. We were going through the check-in and they were scanning Steve's guitar case. And they said, what's in the case, bud? And he said, a bomb. Wrong thing to say, Steve, at the wrong moment. The cops were there in seconds and he opened it up and revealed it was just a guitar. Not really a very good thing to say. We had a lot of incredible nights on the road with the mansion. And we did a lot of sort of teeny bopper theater appearances where moms would take their kids and so forth. But we were playing harder, grittier stuff now. And this tour of the South was just what we needed. Unfortunately, like all things, it didn't end well. That's a story for another day. I think it's probably in my detailed story of the Wadsworth Mansion. But the band would later reform, me and Steve, in LA just 6-7 months later. So that was a brief story of the Wadsworth Mansion and our escapades and our attempt to bring the band up to another notch with better quality musicians. I had a great time playing in the band. So you never know what's going to happen on the road, my friends. And that's going to wrap up this music moment with the Wadsworth Mansion. Hope you enjoyed this story. I'll see you down the story highway on the next adventure that we will take up in Hollywood. Until then, my friends, keep love in your heart, a song in your head, and I will see you down the music story highway. Take care. So long.